In a small room filled with afternoon sunlight, Heughan and Caitriona Balfe sat side by side, glasses of red wine in hand, their eyes shining as if they were touching old memories. Laughter rang out, not from the present, but from old stories being recalled, the arduous filming days, the times when they had to hide their true feelings behind smiles in front of the camera, or even the moments when they said the wrong thing that made the whole crew burst into laughter. "Do you remember the time I fell off my horse?" Caitriona laughed, her eyes mischievous. Sam nodded, laughing loudly. "Why not? I fell and still tried to wave to the fans like a queen. Who would have thought it would take the whole crew 3 hours to fix the scene?" Each memory that was rekindled was like a small flame touching the listener's heart. They talked about the cold evenings in Scotland, when only each other could dispel the loneliness. Long trips, where the two of them silently watched the stars and then suddenly burst out laughing at a trivial detail. The joy lay not only in the memories, but also in the way they looked at each other, exchanging glances as if they were complicit in the past, as if two souls had left a deep mark on each other's lives. The friends listening around didn't just hear a story. They felt like they were being transported back to that very place, the smell of wet wild grass on the high hills, the sound of the wind howling through the ravines, and the warmth when a clumsy touch was enough to change the atmosphere. Sam raised his glass, his voice deep. "Retelling the old story is like living it all over again. But with you sitting next to me, everything really makes sense." Caitriona didn't answer, just tilted her head slightly, her eyes sparkling in the sunset. That joy, not from the halo, not from the acclaim, but from the companionship, from shared memories, and from having someone to tell stories with, to laugh with, to see that time has passed, but the feelings have never faded. Late afternoon, the golden sunlight poured through the glass window, creating sparkling streaks of light on the wooden floor. Heughan gently swirled the wineglass in his hand, his eyes following the red-pink ripples in the crystal cup. Opposite, Caitriona Balfe leaned back in her chair, her brown hair falling naturally, the corners of her lips curved into a smile that was hard to hide. In that warm space, memories began to flood back like old movies being played again, more vivid and bustling than ever. "Do you remember the first day we met at the audition?" Caitriona spoke, her voice rising and falling as if pulling Sam back a decade ago. Sam frowned, trying to look thoughtful. "How could I forget? You walked into the room, holding the script without even looking at it once. The whole room was completely silent at that moment, and I thought to myself, oh no, I'm going to have to fight this gaze for the entire movie." Laughter erupted, clear and cheerful. They both knew it wasn't just a business meeting, but the beginning of a strange, inexplicable bond. They began to tell each other behind-the-scenes stories, moments the audience had never known. Caitriona recalled the time they had to film a scene in the pouring rain in the Highlands. Their clothes were soaked, covered in mud, and the wind was cold and piercing. "I was shivering, and you were just standing there grinning," she repeated, her voice half reproachful, half teasing. Sam shrugged. "I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at myself. It was so cold and rainy, yet you still had to pretend to kiss passionately. This profession is unbelievable." Laughter rang out again. The joy of retelling old stories didn't lie in the humorous details, but in the way they shared and portrayed the little things they had experienced. A moment later, Sam told about the day the crew had to film a horse riding scene through the forest. Caitriona, who was not used to horses, clung to the saddle, her face pale. "Remember, I swore I would never get on a horse again after that scene. But then a few days later, I got on again without telling anyone." Caitriona laughed and nodded, "because I didn't want to be called a quitter. Besides," she glanced mischievously, "there was someone sitting next to me, who kept saying, 'You can do it, trust me.'" Those memories are not just pieces in a movie. They are evidence of a journey, where two strangers gradually became each other's support. They talked about going to events, standing in front of thousands of cheering audiences. "Remember that day at Comic-Con? When a fan asked if we were in love in real life," Sam recalled, his eyes sparkling with mischief. I blushed so hard I covered the microphone, and you were so stiff with laughter." Caitriona burst out laughing, covering her mouth. "Oh my gosh, you were staring at me. I just wanted to disappear." The room erupted in laughter. The listeners, some of them close friends, couldn't help but smile. They not only heard the story, but also witnessed the friendship, the bond, and the joy that shone through Sam and Caitriona's eyes and gestures. Sam slowly lowered his voice, becoming more thoughtful. "Do you remember the day the crew had to shoot the last scene? When everyone hugged each other, crying because they knew a phase was over?" The atmosphere quieted. Caitriona nodded slightly, her eyes distant. "I remember. It was a rare time when I felt both sad and happy at the same time. Sad because it ended, but happy because we had gone through such a long journey together." The two of them fell into silence for a moment, as if watching fragments of a film from the past run through their memories. Then, as if unable to bear the silence, Sam burst out laughing. "But you know what? The best thing is not the film, nor the fame. It's having you there, so that each old story becomes worth telling." Caitriona looked at him, a gentle smile flashing, her eyes sparkling in the evening light. "Maybe it's the retelling of it together that makes the memories come alive," she replied. The wine glasses in their hands clinked together, emitting a clear sound. Laughter followed laughter, story after story, like an endless river of memories. Outside, the sun was setting behind the trees, leaving the sky tinged with pink. In that cozy room, the joy was not only in remembering the past, but also in realizing that those memories, thanks to each other, would forever be alive, never fading. And when night fell, they continued to tell stories, as if time did not exist, as if there were only two people and thousands of stories that had never been told. The night had fallen completely, the city outside was lit up, lights spread across the window frames. In the small room, Sam and Caitriona's laughter still echoed, interspersed with gentle silences. They no longer just talked about the past, but began to imagine things that had yet to come. "What do you think the future will be like?" Caitriona asked, her voice as light as a breeze. Sam leaned back, eyes looking far away. "I am not sure. But if there's one thing I hope for, it's to still have you sitting next to me, so that each new story will become a beautiful memory." A moment of silence. Their eyes met, no need for further explanation. That look contained the belief that, no matter what lies ahead, joy will still remain, as long as there is each other to tell, to laugh, to reminisce. Outside, the night wind blew gently, carrying the scent of jasmine. In their hearts, a new chapter was quietly opening, unclear in form, but certainly bright. And then, laughter broke out again, like a promise that the journey ahead would be long, with many stories to tell, many memories to light up. As the clock struck midnight, the air seemed to quiet down. Sam and Caitriona sat still, letting their memories blend into the sweet silence. "Perhaps," Caitriona whispered, "the best things never lie in the past, but in the fact that we still want to tell them." Sam smiled, his eyes as persistent as a flame. In that moment, they both understood. Every old story was just a stepping stone, to open a new chapter, where joy never ceased. Their story, which seemed to have ended with the past, had actually just begun.